What's up, my love? It's Adia, and today we are here. That was a little blue jay, little beautiful, loud bluebird saying hi to all of us. So today we are going to talk about how to spot a fake friend, because it's 2024, it's an 8-year, and it's also a dragon year, and it's a year of things being exposed, people, places, and situations being exposed for what they are. And I know that so many of us have been learning lessons about who to trust, about having proper discernment of where we invest our energy, who we invest our energy in, who will allow ourselves to be around, who will prioritize as so-called friends. And I'll say personally, I don't have friends. I have family. You know, there are people who have been anointed and appointed to be in my life, and I love them and I treat them as family. I don't have friends because when we look at words, and words matter, etymology matters, friends end, friendships end. When you look at the word friend, it literally has the word end in it. Friendships fry you and they end. So I choose family, and really the Most High chooses family for me. So today we're going to talk about how to spot a fake friend. So I have my little handy dandy notes here because this is something that I've really taken the time to reflect on and to sit with. So in terms of how to spot a fake friend, pay attention to how people speak about other people. Pay attention to how people treat other people, specifically and especially people who can't do anything for them. Pay attention to how people treat themselves as well, because if someone disrespects themselves, dishonors themselves, they can't give you what they don't have. So it's only a matter of time before they disrespect you, before they mistreat you, before they dishonor you. How people speak about themselves. If someone is constantly self-negating, if someone constantly talks down about themselves and talks down to themselves, well, people can't give you what they don't have. People can only treat you as well as they treat themselves. So if someone is putting themselves down, negating themselves, downing on themselves, it's only a matter of time before they try to project that energy onto you. So always be mindful of how someone speaks about themselves, treat themselves, and then watch how they treat other people. Watch how they speak about other people, especially those who can't do anything for them, especially people who don't have anything to offer them. Like there's a saying, be mindful and pay attention to how someone treats waiters, waitresses. Be mindful how someone treats janitors. People in what would seem like positions of maybe not a lot of power or authority from some perceptions, right? Well, how one treats those type of people is what really matters. It's the little things that tell you about a person's. It's the little things that tell you about someone's character. Another way to spot a fake friend. We have to pay attention to the type of relationships that a person has with their family. What type of relationship does this person have with their mother and their father? And this is not something to judge, of course, but it's also not something to bypass, because the relationship we have with our mother and father are our primary caregivers. That says a lot about the type of person that we are. You know, and some people do come from troubled backgrounds and tumultuous homes, and that background doesn't determine who they are, or who they will be in the future. But it does mean that someone with a more challenging or troubled relationship with their primary caregivers, with their mother and their father, that person has to do a whole lot more work on themselves, a whole lot more healing work and shadow work, to make sure that they're not projecting the wounds that they endured in childhood. That person has to do a whole lot more work to make sure that they are not reliving those same potentially toxic and traumatic cycles and patterns with other people in their lives, other men and women in their lives. Because the relationship that we have with our mother and our father, our maternal and paternal caregivers in childhood, those relationships determine how we treat every other man and woman in our lives. And it takes a whole lot of shadow work and healing work and commitment to that path to heal the way that we engage with and relate with other men and women in our lives. So for example, someone who had a woman who had a really toxic relationship with her mother, or a very codependent or enmeshed relationship with her mother, where the boundaries were blurred between the daughter's needs and the mother's needs. There was often many times where the daughter was caretaker for the mother, maybe emotionally, mentally, energetically. And so the daughter bore a lot of the weight in terms of that mother projecting onto that daughter, making the daughter responsible for her mental, emotional, and even physical needs at times. So with that type of relational dynamic, for example, that daughter, that woman, as she grows up and as she matures, may not have the best relationships with other women. That woman may be someone who is more drawn to relationships with the masculine, because maybe she feels, because of the relationship she had with her mother, she would likely reject the feminine in some way. That's just one example. So a way to spot a relationship, a friendship that could turn problematic, a good way to assess that relationship is to look at the relationship that someone has with their mother and their father, their maternal and their paternal caregivers. Something to be aware of. Another way to spot a fake friend: how do they react when you speak your truth or disagree with them? Does that so-called friend, do they know how to take responsibility and accountability? Are they willing to hold space to receive your truth, to receive a perspective that maybe disagrees from or differs from theirs? And how do they respond to it? Are they gracious? Are they open? Are they receptive? Do they hold space for you to open up your heart and to communicate your truth? Do you feel safe? Do you feel heard? Do you feel seen? Do you feel received in that exchange? Even when a perspective or a truth that you're sharing differs from theirs, even when there's a point, when there's a topic where you may disagree, how does that person, that so-called friend, how do they respond? because grace is such an important quality in relationships and friendships that are meant to last the test of time. Because we all, at one point or another, are guaranteed to clash. We're guaranteed to bump heads in some way, shape, or form. And someone who is gracious, someone who is open to receiving and hearing out others' perspectives without feeling like it needs to be an argument or a tensious conversation, the capacity to hold grace and be receptive is such an important indicator of a friend, of a relationship that will be able to ideally last the test of time and grow with you from season to season. So pay attention to how someone reacts when you speak your truth or when you disagree with them. Next, how do they joke with you? Really pay attention to the way that someone jokes with you. Do they make fun of you? Because oftentimes, if not all the time, the jokes that someone makes aren't really jokes. If somebody says something to you that's rude or mean or nasty, and they try to cover it in the guise of a joke, that is a red flag. Anybody who intentionally makes fun of you or makes a mean or rude or inconsiderate joke about you is likely not a friend to you, and is likely someone who actually deep down inside does not like you. Pay attention to everything that someone says to you and about you, because there is truth in that. And every joke that is told, so-called joke that is told, there is the essence of truth held in that joke. So if a so-called friend jokes about you in a way that makes you uncomfortable, if somebody actively goes out of their way to make fun of you, and especially when there are other people around, it's bad enough when you are with someone one-on-one and they maybe make an inappropriate joke, or they make fun of you in some type of way. It's something to take note of, but in the context of being one-on-one, at the very least, it's just the two of you, and you can express yourself, you can communicate how that statement, how that so-called joke made you feel. And ideally, when you do that, when you speak up, you speak your truth, and you set a boundary, and you communicate that you don't want to be talked to like that, you don't want to be communicated with that way. Ideally, if that's a true friend, a true relationship, that person will be receptive to what you're saying. That person will acknowledge that they're sorry. They'll recognize that maybe the way that they're used to engaging or interacting or joking with people, that's just the way that they're used to operating. And you speaking your truth gives them space to grow, to evolve, to recognize that they don't have to relate in that type of way, because there are a lot of people who have just been conditioned to operate like that. So that's an opportunity for growth, for you to speak up, and for the other person to recognize that there are more healthy, effective, loving, supportive ways to relate with the people that they love. So ideally, in a real friendship or relationship, that is a growing moment. You know, it's a teachable moment. And ideally they're receptive to it, and that'll tell you a lot too. If they're receptive to it, then you know, okay, like we can grow together. But if you speak your truth and that person gets defensive and they're not willing to take accountability, that's another way to spot a fake friend. That's another way to spot someone who isn't willing to take accountability and responsibility for how they impact others with their energy, with their words, with their so-called jokes, right? So if they're receptive to you speaking your truth and setting a boundary, that's a great sign. That's a green flag. If not, that is a big red flag and an indicator that that is not someone who truly cares about you. Now take this same scenario, but done in a group of people. Now that's even worse. If someone goes out of their way to say a rude or mean or inconsiderate joke about you or make fun of you in a group of people, yes, speak up and speak your truth and set that boundary and put that person in their place, but know that that person is not your friend. Because dynamics often change when we're in group settings, when group dynamics are involved. So that right there, someone is intentionally trying to put you down, to make you look a certain type of way in front of other people. That, baby, is not a red flag. That's a deal breaker. So be really mindful of that. Next, be mindful of someone who judges others, someone who gossips about others, and who tells you other people's secrets. And we're not talking about, sometimes people tell us things in moments where we need to process things, right? In order to give the full context of situations and settings, right? But trust your intuition, because you know when someone means well versus when someone is just judging, being judgmental, gossiping, and wanting to tell you other people's secrets to make them look bad. Because if someone is gossiping to you, if someone is using their words and their energy to judge other people, and they're having that conversation with you, and then they're telling you other people's secrets, what other people are going through, but in a way that is non-productive, in a way that is just trying, you can tell that person is just trying to tear them down and just trying to make them look bad. That is a fake friend right there. Again, that is another deal breaker. It's not even a red flag, because if someone gossips to you, if somebody judges other people in front of you and tells you other people's secrets, then they will go behind your back and do those same exact things about you. Someone who gossips about others to you will also gossip about you. Someone who judges other people in front of you will judge you in front of other people behind your back. Someone who tells other people's secrets to you will tell your secrets behind your back. So be mindful of what you share with that type of person, and be mindful how much of your energy you give to a connection like that, because that energy, those same things will be done to you. Another way to spot a fake friend: someone who's always in chaos, who's always involved in drama, whose relationships are constantly in a state of disarray and disorder. That is an indicator right there. We have to really get into this habit of listening to everything, to watching everything with a fine-tooth comb, okay? We cannot bypass the signs that are right in front of us, telling us and letting us know what's going on and what it is that we need to know. So If someone changes relationships, if someone goes through friendships like they go through underwear, that is another red flag. It's another sign that something is not right. If you see someone that constantly goes through relationships, they have a string of relationships that and a string of people that they have burnt bridges with throughout the years, throughout the months, that is someone to be aware of. Because people who cannot maintain relationships, there's something to look at within that. There's something to recognize within that. And of course, there's a lot of different reasons why that could be the case. So we all have to practice discernment and be able to read the patterns and where that comes from. Because yeah, there are certain cycles and seasons in people's lives where relationships are removed from them. But how are those relationships removed? Are they the one burning bridges? Are they the ones saying, oh, this person, so-and-so did this to me, so-and-so did that to me, they did this to me? If someone has a string of relationships that are just chaotic and dramatic and disorderly, and when they talk about those relationships, they point fingers and they blame the other person for how that relationship went down, that is another red flag and another way to spot someone who may not mean you well and doesn't mean others well and is a fake friend, a so-called fake friend, because really that person doesn't mean themselves well. That's something we have to recognize, that someone who is a fake friend, that's how they treat themselves. Because again, people can only give you what they have access to within themselves. People can't give you what they don't give to themselves, right? So when people don't love themselves, they can't love you. They can't treat you right if they don't treat themselves right. Another way to spot a fake friend: someone who constantly apologizes for the same things over and over and over and over again, but their behavior never changes. They apologize time and time again. It's the same song and dance time and time again. But you notice that pattern of behavior never changes. They're like a broken record, constantly apologizing, but they don't actually make the effort to change that behavior. That means that they don't value you. They don't value the connection. They don't value the relationship. So don't waste your time, your energy, and your love in connections that cannot honor you. Oh, another way to spot a fake friend, or someone who's jealous of you. Because really, again, fake friends, they envy you, they're jealous of you, they want what you have, they want to be you, they want to be in your position, they want to be your life. Pay attention to this telltale phrase: I wish I had fill in the blank like yours. I had a so-called friend, right? And she would do this all the time. Oh my gosh, I wish I had hair like yours. Oh my gosh, I wish I had skin like yours. Oh my gosh, I wish I had a partner like yours. Red flag, baby. That right there is an indicator of jealousy. It's an indicator of envy. When people cannot see the beauty and the love within themselves, they will envy yours. When people cannot find the goodness and the value in themselves, They will envy yours. They will envy your value. They will envy what it is that you have, because they have not yet done the work to find that within themselves. So when someone says, I wish I had fill in the blank like yours, red flag right there, because they're letting you know who they are. They're letting you know that they probably don't like you. They just want to be you. So beware, be careful. Another thing to be aware of are backhanded compliments. Backhanded compliments. When someone compliments you, but in such a way where it's like it was a compliment, but on the back end it like gave you a little slap in the face and made you kind of like, what? That's your gut telling you. That is your gut telling you that something is not right. When someone is authentic in the way that they see you and that they perceive you and the way that they value you, they will big you up. They will just big you up and love you up and compliment you in a way that just makes you feel so loved and seen and validated. But it won't feel backhanded. It will never feel backhanded. It will never feel like you have to kind of skirt on the back end and be like, what? Thank you, I think? No. No. Another thing. Signs of a fake friend. Someone who lies and you know that they lie. Someone that you know lies and is even a pathological liar. They warp stories. They'll tell Jane one story, they'll tell Johnny another story, they'll tell Larry a different version of the story. Everybody got different versions of the story. That person is a pathological liar, and anyone who lies like that cannot be trusted. And I'm telling you, if they do it once, they will do it again. A leopard cannot change their spots. It takes so much work on ourselves to grow and change and transform. It takes so much commitment and effort and dedication to rise above the lower vibrational conditioning that we all carry. So know that a leopard cannot change their spots overnight. So when you catch someone in a lie once, okay, fool me once, shame on you. You catch someone in a lie 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, shame on me. The people that lie pathologically, constantly giving one story over here, different story over there, that is someone who cannot be trusted. That is someone who is fake. That is someone who is wearing a mask. That is someone who is wearing a facade. They are not real, and beware. Next, someone who doesn't completely take accountability when confronted. So let's say you catch someone in a lie. You catch someone in some fuckery. You catch someone in some mess and you confront them about it, and they do not immediately take accountability. They try to defend themselves. They try to explain their way out of it. They try to do the Wusan, try to craft all type of stories and reasons and justifications for why they did it and why. If they don't take accountability, that's not someone that you need in your life. You put too much effort into healing yourself. You put too much effort into growing and transforming to have someone like that in your life, in your circle, in your energy field. It's just toxic. Don't do it. Next, someone who tries to guilt trip you or pressure you. When you genuinely desire to invite someone somewhere or to have someone around you, then so be it. But if you don't genuinely want to be around someone or invite someone somewhere, and they make you feel guilty for that. They try to guilt trip you because you didn't call them back. You didn't respond to their text message. They try to pressure you into being more involved with them, into having a deeper level of relationship and connection with them. Skirt, baby, red flag again. Anyone who tries to guilt trip you and pressure you into being friends with them, to doing things with them, to being around them more than what you want to be around them, that is your indicator right there. That's someone who doesn't know how to self-source. That's someone who's not secure in themselves. That's someone who needs the validation of other people, and that type of person is dangerous. So stay away and steer clear of that drama and that mess. Next, someone who tries to get too close to you too quickly. Beware of that. Oof. I had another so-called friend. We were having a conversation. At the time, it felt like a great conversation. It felt like a powerful conversation. But I remember at a point in this conversation, this person said to me, you know, I wish you would tell me more about you. I feel like I don't know anything about you. You know, I just want to know more about you. And I didn't think, it was like my little dog ears went up just a little bit. I didn't think too much about it at the time. But in retrospect, the way that whole relationship situation played out, I realized that was something that was a red flag. Mind you, the conversation that we were having, I felt like I was disclosing a lot about myself and my process, and it was a very deep conversation. So in retrospect, looking back at this comment, it was an indicator of someone who tries to get too close too quickly. Relationships are meant to evolve. Relationships are meant to bloom. Relationships are meant to blossom. There's nothing better than a slow burn. Relationships show themselves to be what they are over time. So when someone wants to know everything about you off the bat, and when someone tries to get too close to you too quickly, again, red flag and something to be aware of. Yeah, just something to be aware of, you know. Anyone who pulls and tugs on your energy, like, why don't you call me more? Why don't you hang out with me more? Why don't It's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it's something to be aware of, because that is a red flag. Another indicator of someone who is gonna bring trouble into your life. Someone who constantly shares their traumas, who constantly is talking about their trauma over and over and over again. How many times can you hear the same story about the same trauma? You could be with someone and different groups of people, and you hear this same person tell the same story of their childhood trauma that they went through 20 some years ago, 30 some years ago, 40 some years ago, and they tell that story to every single person that they meet, every time you're with them, over and over and over again. That is a key indicator. When someone is trauma dumping constantly, when they're just living in their pathologies and telling those same traumas and pathologies over and over and over again, that is someone who is still stuck in that trauma. That is someone who's literally addicted to that trauma, who's addicted to getting sympathy from telling people that trauma, because they don't know how to connect authentically. They don't know how to connect from a space of purity and love. They're so used to getting attention. This comes from childhood. That person is so used to getting attention because of their wounds, because of their traumas, and they get sympathy from people. That's how trauma bonds happen. Someone comes to you and tells you a sob story, and then you feel bad for them, and then you want to cater to them, you want to care for them, you want to show them that you're different, that someone can love them, that someone can treat them well. Steer clear. Someone who wants to trauma bond can never be a good friend to you, can never be a good partner to you, can never be a true confidant to you, because anytime someone else comes around that they can trauma bond with, well, you could be thrown under the bus and thrown out the window at any moment in time. So be mindful and be careful of that. Also, pay attention to when you're there for someone consistently and they're only there for you when it's convenient. When you're constantly there for someone and they're only there for you when it's convenient for them, it's something to be mindful of. It's something you can have a conversation about. Again, and when you initiate that conversation, see how they respond, see how they react, because sometimes people really are so kind of wrapped up in themselves and in what they're experiencing that they don't even realize how they may be unintentionally impacting you, how they may unintentionally not be showing up for you in the way that you desire and that you need. But someone who's a true friend, when you express that, when you express how you feel, they will be receptive to that. They will take accountability for that. They will own up to that. They will take ownership of that, take it as a teachable moment and as a learning lesson. Just know that someone who genuinely cares about you will be receptive to your needs when you express them. So if they're not, that's a fake friend right there. All right. Next one. Be mindful of being around people who are gullible, who are easily manipulated, who have no spine, no backbone, who can't stand on business and say what they mean and mean what they say. Because that type of person, when push comes to shove, if you were ever in a situation where you needed someone to have your back, that person would not be the one. Someone who's gullible and easily manipulated will, behind your back, someone could go gossip to them and they'll just sit there and listen to it. Or even worse, they'll take it on. They'll think those things about you too, and they just won't say anything to you about it. Someone who doesn't have the strength within them to stand on business is not someone who you need to have around you or who you need to have in your circle, because that becomes a liability to you. Where someone is a liability to themselves, where someone else is weak within themselves, because you have to be weak to be gullible, to be easily manipulated. So someone who is weak in and of themselves, when you're in relationship with them, when you're in a friendship with them, they become a liability to you. And then that's your fault. That's your what you have to take accountability for, because you allowed that person into your life, into your heart, into your home, into your space. You trusted someone who could not be trusted, and they showed you time and time and time again that they could not be trusted. So when you see that someone is weak and doesn't have the resolve and the strength to stand on business, steer clear from them, stay away from them, because again, they can't give you what they don't have. They'll flip-flop. When push comes to shove, they'll flip-flop, and they won't have your back. So if something ever comes up and someone tries to come at you out in the streets, or someone's just talking about you, gossiping about you, trying to tear you down, whatever, that person won't have the strength to have your back, and that's not someone who's a true friend to you. So steer clear. Next, someone who switches up their energy with you when things are good, when things are nice, they're sweet to you, they're loving to you, they want to do this, that, and the other for you. But as soon as something happens, they switch up their energy on you. Skirt, red flag right there. Someone who is quick to give you the silent treatment or withdraw their energy in a way where you know it's intentional and you know it's malicious. You know they're doing it because they want to hurt you, or they want you to feel some type of way about the fact that they're not talking to you, they're not giving their energy to you. They intentionally try to make you feel some type of way or try to punish you by withdrawing their energy. They switch up on you in that way. Maybe that's not even a red flag, that's a deal breaker, because that type of energy, those type of patterns they don't just go away overnight. Someone that does that once to you will do that to you again. Someone that tries to give you the cold shoulder or the silent treatment intentionally to hurt you, to make you feel some type of way, that's someone that's toxic, someone that needs to go deeper into their own healing, and it's not someone you need to have around you, because it's just gonna bring problems into your life that you just don't need to deal with. That's someone, again, who is weak in themselves. And someone who is weak in themselves is a liability to you. And you don't need liabilities in your life. You need people who can have your back and stand with you and be honest and forthcoming about how they feel, and who will lean into the relationship when there's challenges instead of withdraw their energy and try to hurt you because of something that may have happened or that they think happened, and because of a story that they created in their heads. Just be mindful. Also, someone who intentionally ignores you when they're mad at you. It's one thing for someone to need space in a relationship and they are forthcoming and they say, hey, this happened, or I'm feeling this way, and I need some space. I need some time for myself. I need some time to reflect on what happened, so that, you know, when we do come back and when we do talk, when we do have a conversation, I'll be more equipped for that conversation, or whatever it is. It takes a lot of maturity to communicate in that way. And those are the type of relationships you need. Those are the type of friendships to prioritize. But someone who intentionally ignores you, goes out of their way to ignore you when they're mad at you, is someone who needs deep healing within themselves, someone who is deeply traumatized and emotionally, energetically probably neglected and abused in childhood. And that's the energy that they are then projecting onto you. You don't need that in your life. When you're someone who operates from love and integrity and purity, and who genuinely cares about people, and you notice that someone will intentionally try to maneuver their energy in a way to hurt you because they're mad at you, fake. That's a fake friend. That's somebody who needs healing. Stay away from them. Something else to pay attention to: someone who throws you under the bus. If someone throws you under the bus once, don't give them the opportunity to throw you under the bus again. Because they will do it again. When the next time they get the opportunity to throw you under the bus, if they do it once, they'll do it again. It's not a red flag, it's a deal breaker. Somebody who doesn't go out of their way to have your back, instead, when they get the opportunity, they throw your booty under the bus. Oh no. They'll do it again. So don't give someone an opportunity to show you that they're a fake friend more than once. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, baby, shame on me. No. Pay attention to how things unfold when you're in the midst of conflict. When you're in the midst of conflict, that tells you everything you need to know about a person. Because it's easy to be loving when things are nice, when things are going well. it's easy. Relationships are easy in the high seasons, in the up seasons, right? But when you're in the midst of conflict, pay attention to how someone speaks to you, how someone reacts to you, how someone's energy responds to you when you're in the midst of conflict, because that is their shadow showing itself, revealing itself. And that is really how they feel about themselves, and thus the energy that they'll project onto you in the relationship. So being in the midst of conflict will tell you more about a person than how much they love you and how many gifts they give you and how many acts of service they do for you and how much they affirm you and validate you. All that stuff doesn't mean anything if when in the midst of conflict they try to tear you down, they don't have your back, they go out of their way to hurt you. No. Conflict and challenging times will tell you more about a person and the relationship you have with them and the way that they feel about you than anything else. And lastly, as we close out this journey of how to spot a fake friend, someone who tries to control how others see you, especially, this is if you're in a group setting and for whatever reason, whether it's warranted or unwarranted, I'll say I had this experience with a so-called friend, right? And I said something that this friend didn't like. You know, I was sharing a perspective that illuminated some truth about them that they didn't want to hear, they didn't want to receive. And I very lightly inched my way to this comment. It was in the context of a conversation. And I said something that lightly illuminated truth about why things happen to us. It was kind of like, why do accidents happen to us? Why do kind of like unfortunate accidents happen to us in life? And the perspective that I shared was that in life, when unfortunate accidents happen to us, it's because there's something we need to look at within self. There is something we need to account for, where spirit is working to get our attention, for us to take accountability for something. I personally feel that all accidents, most if not all accidents are avoidable. That is truly how I feel. I feel that accidents and mishaps happen to my hair to make us aware of something that we were not aware of. That was basically the perspective that I was sharing. And it was in relation to something that had recently happened with this person, you know, kind of an accident, an unfortunate mishap that happened. And and mind you, we're in it's a group of us. I said what I said. And this person's response was to basically drudge up something that they knew about me, that only they knew about me. Because they didn't like what I said in the moment, they threw this secret that I had that only they knew. They threw it back in my face in the nastiest way and said, oh, well, you know, that you know what? It doesn't even matter, because I don't fully remember exactly what was said, but I remember that something that was very personal that I shared with only that person, because they didn't like what I said, they took that moment to throw that shit in my face in front of other people, disclosing personal things that only they knew about me to other people, to try and demean me and to put me down in the moment, as a way to put me in my place because they didn't like what I said, and to then shift the conversation, put the focus, what they felt like the focus was on them. They wanted the focus to be on me, and for it to be a situation where they were controlling how I was being perceived in that situation. That was a moment where I should have known that that relationship needed to end right then and there. But it didn't. That relationship continued to go on for years after this incident. And let's just say, you know, I'm no longer friends with this person, and it didn't end very well, to say the least. But all through that relationship, there were beyond red flags. I don't know what's more intense than a red flag. There was so many deal breakers throughout the course of this relationship that I bypassed time and time again, and I forgave and I forgave and I forgave, and I made excuses. And so be mindful of the way that people treat you, the way that people talk about you, the way that when someone is triggered, when you trigger someone, be mindful of how they respond to you, because those are all ways, when you're in the midst of a disagreement or in the midst of a conflict, how someone responds to you tells you everything that you need to know about how they truly feel about you at the root. So know that you are deserving of loving relationships with people who are pure of heart. So when people are deeply enmeshed in their own trauma and they're not ready to take accountability, and they like to project, those are all signs of a fake friend. Those are all signs of a toxic relationship, that it's better that you see the signs early on and not even invest in that relationship any further, because it will only bring you painful lessons. The lessons are powerful, and I give thanks for the situations in my life that have taught me how to have discernment, how to spot fake friends and people who don't have your best interest at heart in relationships. I'm grateful. And so my intention and my hope in you receiving this video, watching this video, is that you don't have to walk through the same fires that I walk through. You don't have to go through the same experiences, because you don't need to. Learn the lesson, receive the discernment from someone who's already walked through it, so you don't have to. I love you. And no fake friends. Say no to fake friends. Say yes to pure-hearted relationships where people really love you and have your best interest at heart. I love you.